I knew it was over the moment Brandon didn't make eye contact. That's all it took. 28 years at Luxora Systems, and this kid couldn't even look at me when he slid the folder across his desk. No handshake, no thanks for your service. Just that smile that never touched his eyes and 4 words that might as well have been a knife. Let's talk about alignment. Raymond Donnelly, that's me, 58 years old. I built the algorithm that made Luxora worth $680 million. Built it in my basement back in 2006 when the company was still operating out of a strip mall office. Brandon Sutton, 29 years old with a Stanford MBA and a board member for a father, was telling me I wasn't aligned. He flipped through my review folder. Look, Ray, you've done solid work, really. But you've been here a long time. We need people who can pivot, who understand modern processes. If you're not happy with where we're heading, he gestured toward the door. I didn't rage, didn't argue. What I felt was emptiness. 28 years, and they couldn't even remember my name. I looked at the team photo on my desk. 3 of those engineers I'd hired myself. I remembered staying until 3 a.m. during the Y2K crisis, running on truck stop coffee and stale donuts. When everyone else was partying like it was 1999, we were 3 guys in a server room making sure the lights stayed on. No consultants, no offshore teams, just us. We shook hands. We kept our word. I remembered missing my son's college graduation because our infrastructure was migrating to new servers. Called him from the data center at 2 a.m. Heard his name announced over speakerphone while I was elbow deep in cables. He never said anything about it, but he didn't have to. I remembered when my wife left in 2015. She said I was married to the servers, not her. She wasn't wrong. Now this kid was handing me a folder and showing me the door. I closed my laptop. No drama, no tears. Stood up, tucked that folder under my arm, and walked out. Past my team, past the glass conference room, past HR. Nobody said a word. That silence, it said everything. But here's what nobody knew. Sometimes silence is strategy. I didn't go home. Went to Murphy's Diner down the street, got black coffee, and just sat there. Didn't cry, didn't make calls, just breathed. Luxora had been my whole life. Joined in 1997 when we were 15 people running beta tests on donated equipment. Watched us grow into a major player. The infrastructure, the architecture, the logic that powered everything they sold, all of it had my fingerprints. I didn't write manuals about it, I lived it. That code was in my bloodstream. Paid the bill in cash, walked 2 blocks to clear my head, caught a cab, real taxi, not Uber. Driver didn't talk, thank God. Home smelled like old leather and the scotch I'd been saving. Buck, my retriever, met me at the door wagging his tail like nothing had changed. I set the folder on the table, poured 2 fingers of Macallan, and opened a drawer I hadn't touched in years. Under tax returns and old warranties was a manila envelope. No label, just weight. Inside was the original patent application. My name at the top, not Luxora's. Mine. Filed in 2006 when legal was too busy keeping us solvent to track IP properly. Nick Palmer, an IP attorney who raises alpacas in Oregon now, had told me back then, Ray, file it under your name. You can assign it later once things stabilize. They never stabilized. They just got greedy. The formal transfer had always been in process. But nobody followed up because nobody thought it mattered. I was never going anywhere, right? I was the foundation. The guy who kept the lights on while executives played musical chairs. Until Brandon pulled the plug. I walked to my safe, tried 3 combinations before getting it right. Tucked the envelope inside. Not vengeance, not yet. Preparation. Opened my laptop. Drafted an encrypted email to Nick. Subject, need you to confirm a clause. Attached a scan of the filing. The fine print was brutal. Should the inventor be terminated involuntarily and without cause, reversion of full ownership shall occur within 24 hours of official notice. Typed, still valid, send. Sat there in the blue glow, scotch warming in my hand, Buck at my feet. Phone buzzed, voicemail from Brandon, didn't listen. Probably something about knowledge transfer. Too late. Walked to the window, watched the city lights. 28 years of making other people look smart. Of translating real work into PowerPoint slides for men in suits who talked about synergy and disruption. Lesson delivered. This wasn't the part where I applied to competitors or wrote angry reviews. This was the part where I remembered who I was. Not Ray from engineering. not legacy overhead, not the guy they thought would disappear quietly. Nick called before sunrise, picked up on the first ring. Does the clause still stand? Silence, papers rustling, reading glasses clicking. I pictured him at his kitchen table with a legal pad and half-eaten banana, same as always. Finally, yes, if they fired you yesterday, it triggered the moment you walked out. Didn't speak. Jesus, Ray. You kept that clause. Hung up. Not rude, just efficient. Work to do. That 24-hour window wasn't theoretical. It was real. By 6:07 a.m., I was logged into the USPTO system. The reversion form was pre-written, something Nick and I drafted years ago, back when Lexora was still LexTech and we held meetings over Chinese takeout. Nick had said, "You probably won't need this," then paused. But plenty of guys assumed they wouldn't get screwed either. Opened the folder, checked signatures, filled out the notification. Not dramatic, just a checkbox next to involuntary termination without cause, timestamp, upload fields, verification, submit, done. With one click, ownership of Lexora's core algorithm slid back to me. The algorithm powering their entire product line, their licensing deals, their investor pitch. Didn't dance, didn't scream, leaned back with my coffee and let it sink in. Buck jumped on the table and sniffed my laptop, unimpressed by my multi-million-dollar IP. Checked USPTO. The update would take hours to go public, but once it did, anyone looking up that patent would see a different owner. Not Lexora Systems LLC, Raymond J. Donnelly. Special kind of quiet when you're the only one who knows the bomb is armed. That was me, standing barefoot in my kitchen, watching sunrise, holding a clause nobody remembered existed. Across town, Lexora's leadership was probably prepping their strategy meeting, talking scalability and integration. The scaffolding holding up their empire had just vanished, and they had no idea. Wasn't going to call them, wasn't going to warn them. That was the old me, loyal, predictable, the one who gave them decades and assumed they'd do right. That Ray was done. 7:03 a.m. Inbox pinged. USPTO confirmation. Official. My patent was back where it belonged, and unless Lexora had built a completely new system overnight, which they hadn't, every line of code in their Cloud Edge platform was trespassing on my property. Opened my laptop, started drafting something more interesting than a resume, licensing terms. Not just reclaiming what was mine, making them pay for thinking I was disposable, not loudly, not in court, just with contracts, numbers, royalties. Revenge doesn't need war paint, just a watermark. Brandon was in rare form that morning, at least that's what I heard. Word travels fast when you've spent nearly 3 decades in a place. Half the staff still had my cell number, still pinged me when things broke. Old habits. Brandon kicked off the product strategy meeting like a game show host. Arms wide, teeth gleaming. Talked about agile pivots and Q4 dominance. Said the Cloud Edge rollout would crush the competition. Every feature ran off the algorithm I'd written in my basement during the Bush administration. Before they even had a real server room, not one person in that room checked the USPTO that morning. By 11:30, my phone buzzed. Marcy Valdez, product manager who used to bring me coffee during late shifts, once cried in my office because her code broke the sandbox 2 hours before a client demo. Almost didn't answer. Curiosity won. "Hey, Ray." Her voice was careful. "Just a heads up, we're moving your old code into the new build this week. Cloud Edge launch got bumped up. Feels weird without you here, let that sit. Good luck with that." She paused. "Wait, what?" Click. Let them squirm. People never understood this about me. I didn't scream, didn't sue, didn't write angry posts. I let the rope tighten on its own. It was tightening fast. By noon, Lexora's legal inbox had the USPTO notification, but nobody read it. In companies like Lexora, legal only checks what executives tell them to check, and executives were too busy congratulating themselves to notice the floor dropping out. Brandon strutted through the halls like he'd conquered something. Heard later he made some crack in the break room about how clean the transition was. He didn't even fight it. Guess the game's changed. Yeah, Brandon, it sure has. They were days from pushing a demo 100% dependent on code they didn't own anymore. Every commit, every push, Every integration test was now a line item on my licensing ledger. I wasn't charging friendship rates. Started with a kid. Summer intern named Aiden Flores. Overambitious type who wore button-downs on casual Fridays and highlighted documents in 3 colors. He was monitoring USPTO activity for competitor filings. Simple task. Click around, look for anything weird, flag if needed. Until he typed in Lexora's patent number and saw my name. His mouth probably went dry. Highlighter froze. Maybe he refreshed 3 times hoping it was a glitch. But truth just sat there. Inventor and owner, Raymond J. Donnelly. Effective date, 24 hours post involuntary termination. He flagged it, emailed his supervisor. Subject, possible issue. Corporate speak for, I don't want to die for this. Legal read it, paused, reread it 5 times, dug through old agreement folders and found the clause. The one they'd filed and forgotten. The one I'd buried like a tripwire 15 years ago. Airtight. Lexora's $680 million technology was squatting on property they didn't own, and they'd already sent demo invites. Brandon handled it like a sledgehammer to China, laughed when legal brought it to him, probably a clerical glitch. Clerical glitch. Like USPTO accidentally handed the company's core IP to the guy he'd fired 2 days ago, doubled down, told legal to keep it quiet until after the demo, said they'd iron it out post-launch, called the legal team paranoid. Product team kept working. Daily builds. Final QA. Glossy materials with buzzwords like proprietary technology and patent-protected architecture, all belonging to me now. Building a house on land they didn't own. Every hour tightened the noose. Because once you demo publicly, once you claim it as yours under IP law, that's infringement. Infringement with knowledge. Willful. Triple damages. Brandon didn't care. Or didn't understand. Probably both. Too busy updating LinkedIn about driving product innovation. Legal quietly drafted a risk memo. Know this because a junior attorney forwarded it to a friend who sent it to me. Subject. Patent reversion. Urgent. 3 pages. Last line said it all. Recommendation. Postpone demo until IP ownership clarified. Marked low visibility. Don't let the board see this. Not yet. Because Brandon feared the board more than the law, more than consequences. He hadn't told them I was gone. Buried it in an org chart update. Called it legacy realignment. Told them CloudEdge was ready, everything on schedule. So they didn't know. Demo was 3 days away. The call came at 6:12 a.m., spooning coffee grounds into the filter. Still in yesterday's flannel and same jeans from Tuesday, knew that number, hadn't seen it in 5 years. Hal Brennan, the founder, Lexora's ghost, stepped back a decade ago, retreated to some Vermont compound with bad reception and good scotch. But Hal wasn't like the VCs who came after. He understood guts, knew the difference between flash and fire, made it worse that he'd let people like Brandon slither in, let it ring twice. Ray, voice like aged bourbon and static. Hal, just got a USPTO alert. Patent 81247-559 lists you as owner. Said nothing. Is this a mistake? No. Beat. Can't be. You assigned that to Lexora. No, Hal. Never filed the final transfer, remember? Supposed to happen after Series A. Legal got shuffled. Never got done. Quiet. Breathing slower now. Processing. Ray. This is the core system. I know. Silence. Why now? Let the question settle. Because your people terminated me without cause. The clause we wrote 15 years ago kicked in. Low groan. Like I'd gut punched him. That was never supposed to be permanent. I trusted your people would honor the deal. More silence. They didn't. Click. Hung up. Didn't expect an apology. Didn't want one. Just wanted him to understand. 10 minutes later, he stormed Lexora HQ. Got the play-by-play from 3 people within the hour. Came through the front doors like a hurricane in leather loafers. No appointment, no entourage, just the founder. Red-faced, hair wild, waving a printed patent listing like a death certificate. Didn't go to Brandon first, went to legal. Smart. Hal wasn't a screamer, but his presence was loud enough. Intern who'd spotted the reversion said Hal stood in front of the general counsel's desk, asked one question. Did we ever formalize the IP transfer for Donnelly's algorithm? Answer came back, stammered. Incomplete. Half-assed excuses. He closed his eyes. Jesus Christ. Then he went to Brandon's office. That wasn't quiet. Hallway emptied within seconds. Brandon started his usual spin. We're on track. This is just noise. Legal's got it. Hal didn't let him finish, slammed the printout on the glass table, loud enough for admin to hear 20 feet away. He owns the oxygen you're breathing, Brandon mumbled about realignments and miscommunications. Hal wasn't there for spin. He was there for truth. Truth was, Lexora Systems, this company he'd built from circuit boards and hope, was about to launch a product they had no right to use, based on my code, my idea. And I was no longer in the building, no longer on payroll, no longer interested in playing nice. Later that evening, I sat on my porch, scotch in hand, watching sunset bleed into the horizon. Phone stayed quiet, not because they weren't trying. Greg had called 3 times, legal twice. Even Marcy sent a DM with a sad face emoji and "You okay?" Didn't answer. Let them sweat. Let Hal decide how much of his company he was willing to lose before acknowledging the truth nobody wanted to say. They didn't fire an employee. They evicted the architect. And now the foundation was gone. Demo day landed like a meteor. Lexora's downtown auditorium had been scrubbed spotless, brushed concrete, sterile spotlights, 30-foot LED wall flashing "Next is now." Rows of plush seats filled with venture partners, existing clients, government liaisons, everyone whose signature or checkbook mattered. Brandon stood backstage in a navy suit 2 sizes too confident, smiling, joking with the CTO, doing that thing where guys believe charisma beats competence. For a minute, looked like it might work. I wasn't there. Sitting at home with Buck, second scotch in hand, phone on the table, waiting. The intro video played, glossy footage of robotic arms and skyscrapers, polite applause. Brandon adjusted his mic, walked center stage. Ladies and gentlemen, voice dripping confidence, what you're about to see is the future of predictive systems, a platform that will change how our clients, how the world, approaches infrastructure, gestured to the screen. Product UI loaded up, sleek, familiar, mine. In the next 10 minutes, we'll walk you through our most advanced iteration, powered by our proprietary engine, developed right here at Lexora. My phone buzzed. Text from Marcy. He's really doing it. Typed back, not for long. That's when legal moved. Not fast, not panicked, just deliberate. Tall woman in a dark blazer stepped onto stage from the wing, leaned in close to Brandon's ear. The mic was still hot. Front 3 rows heard every word. We can't demo that system. We don't own the patent anymore. Brandon blinked, laughed too loud into the mic. Excuse me, folks. Small technical issue. Give us a moment. Stepped aside with legal. Mic still on. Whole front row heard him hiss. What are you talking about? We've always owned that code. No, Brandon, you never did. Raymond Donnelly owns the IP. Reversion is final. It's logged. It's live. If we demo this, we're in willful infringement territory. Blood drained from his face. Whispers started in the back. Phones lit up. 2 investors near the front pulled up USPTO right there in their laps. Patent 81247559. Click, scroll, read. Owner, Raymond J. Donnelly. Date, updated, 3 days ago. My phone buzzed again. Marcy. Holy shit, Ray, what did you do? Didn't answer. Poured another scotch. Waited. Demo feed froze on the giant screen. Placeholder UI hovering like an open wound. Whole room waited. Silence thickened. From the back, Hal Brennan stood. No words, just presence. Arms crossed. Face unreadable. Not surprised. On stage, Brandon cleared his throat. It appears we'll need to postpone our core system demonstration due to unexpected legal review, asset verification. Nobody applauded. CTO looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. Legal stood at perfect attention, arms folded, unblinking. Then it happened. Investor, woman from some capital firm, stood up, held up paper, my name printed in bold. I believe this is the patent registration, the one referenced in your marketing materials. Brandon squinted. Not sure where that came from. Public key record, she said. We all have it now. More papers circulated. Full USPTO printouts, reversion clause in plain language. Someone had emailed it to the entire room. Nobody looked at stage anymore. Reading, sharing, connecting dots. That code, that system, wasn't Lexora's, was his, Raymond's. Phone buzzing nonstop now. Didn't look. Just sat there with Buck, watching ice melt in my glass. Imagined Brandon up there, sweating through that expensive suit, trying to salvage it, rambling about roadmap transparency and partnerships. People were already leaving, quietly, deliberately. Demo was dead. Hal sat back down, pulled out his phone. 30 seconds later, mine rang. Let it go to voicemail. He called again, picked up, said nothing. Ray. Voice rough, tired. What do you want? Not can we fix this? Not let's talk. Just straight to it. Didn't answer on the phone. That conversation needed to be in writing. Hung up, opened laptop, drafted an email. Subject, terms. Kept it simple. Bullet points. No legalese. No filler. Full buyout rights for Lexora Systems to relicense patent 81247559, 8-figure royalty agreement, retroactive to termination date. Board seat with voting privileges, non-negotiable. Brandon Sutton's immediate resignation. Last line. This is not revenge. This is realignment. Send. Leaned back. Waited. Buck jumped on the couch, rested his head on my leg like he understood. We did it, boy, I said quietly. We actually did it. Didn't feel like celebration. Felt like exhaling after holding your breath for 28 years. Phone kept buzzing, texts rolling in, engineers asking what happened. HR sending urgent meeting requests. Even got one from the CTO. Ray, we need to talk, please. Deleted them all. Only message that mattered would come from Hal. Took 3 hours. Email notification. Subject. Terms. Opened it. 2 words. All accepted. Below that, longer message. Could feel Hal's exhaustion in every line. Ray, I'm sorry. Should have said that first. Should have said it years ago. You built this company as much as I did. More, maybe. And I let them treat you like you were replaceable. That's on me. Your terms are accepted. All of them. Brandon resigned an hour ago. Board vote is scheduled for next week, but it's a formality. You'll have your seat. I know this doesn't fix it. Doesn't give you back those 28 years. Doesn't bring back the things you missed. Your son's graduation. Your marriage. All the times you bled for us and we forgot to notice. But it's a start. And it's yours. You earned it. Call me when you're ready. Or don't. I'll understand either way. Read it twice. Poured another scotch. Sat with it. Could feel something loosening in my chest. Not forgiveness. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But acknowledgement. Finally. That night I didn't sleep much. Just sat at my desk with Buck at my feet, watching the city lights blur through the window. 28 years of swallowed pride, birthdays they forgot, meetings where they talked over me. Watching Brandon's daddy get him promoted past people I'd trained. It was done now. Didn't need their applause. Didn't need LinkedIn posts about resilience. Got what I came for. Respect. Equity. A seat at the table. And a legally binding reminder carved into federal record that when you fire the architect, you better check who owns the blueprints. Next morning, email from Lexora HR. Subject, board orientation. Attached was my new badge, my old employee number, and a calendar invite for next Monday's board meeting. Last line of the email. Your nameplate has been returned to facilities. Would you like it installed at your new office, or would you prefer to collect it personally? Smiled at that, typed back. I'll collect it myself, thanks. Heard through the grapevine that Brandon cleaned out his desk that same day. No farewell email, no goodbye tour. Just gone. Someone said he landed at a Series A startup within a week, running product development. Good luck to them. Marcy called that afternoon. Actually picked up this time. Ray, she said, sounded tired. I don't know what to say. Don't say anything. We should have stood up for you. Yeah, you should have. Silence. You coming back? Board meeting Monday. We'll see after that. For what it's worth, her voice cracked slightly. I'm glad you did it. What you did. We all are. Scared as hell, but glad. Get back to work, Marcy. Hung up before she could say more. Wasn't angry at her. Wasn't angry at any of them, really. They were just trying to survive. Same as everyone. But that didn't mean I'd forget who stayed silent when it mattered. The Architect's Revenge. Part 4. Monday morning came cold and clear. Drove myself to Lexora, didn't take a cab, didn't ask for a ride, wanted to walk through those doors on my own terms. Parked in the visitor lot. They hadn't reassigned my old spot yet. Still had my name on it. Faded white letters. R. Donnelly. Stood there for a minute looking at it. 28 years of pulling into that same space. Early mornings, late nights, weekends when everyone else was home with their families. Buck would have liked this moment. Left him home with extra treats. Walked through the front doors at 8:45 a.m., 15 minutes before the board meeting. Security guard at the desk looked up, did a double take. Mr. Donnelly. He stood up. Good to see you, sir. Morning, Carlos. He slid my new badge across the desk, heavier than the old one, different color stripe. Board member access. They're expecting you in conference room A, he said. Top floor. I know where it is. Took the elevator up, alone. Watched the numbers climb, each floor a memory. 3rd floor, where I'd hired my first team. 7th floor, where we'd celebrated our first major contract. 15th floor, where I'd worked through 2 heart attacks because the project couldn't wait. 23rd floor, executive level. Doors opened, hallway was empty. Too early for most of them. That's how I wanted it. Walked past Brandon's old office. Door open, desk cleared. Only thing left was a coffee ring on the wood. Kept walking. Stopped at facilities. Woman behind the desk looked up. Mr. Donnelly, we've been expecting you. She reached under her desk, pulled out my nameplate. Same one from 28 years ago, brass with black letters. Raymond Donnelly, Chief Systems Architect, held it for a moment. Heavier than I remembered. Thank you. Your new office is 2308, corner office, west side. Keys are with your badge. Corner office, west side. Where the light comes in best. Where Hal's office used to be. Walked down the hall, found 2308, unlocked it. Big space, floor-to-ceiling windows, view of the whole city, desk twice the size of my old one, chair that probably cost more than my first car, set the nameplate on the desk, centered it carefully, stood there looking at it. Not victory, not revenge, just reclamation. 8:58 a.m., time to go. Boardroom was 3 doors down, could hear voices inside. Stopped outside, took a breath, opened the door. 12 people around the table. Hal at the head. When I walked in, conversation stopped. Hal stood. Ray, good to see you. Nodded. Took the empty seat. Second from the head. Power position. Woman across from me extended her hand. Diane Reeves. Capital Partners. It's an honor. Shook it. Pleasure. Others introduced themselves. Venture partners. Industry veterans. People who'd made millions off companies like Lexora. Off work like mine. Hal cleared his throat. Before we begin, I want to address the obvious. Raymond Donnelly is joining our board effective immediately. For those who don't know, Ray is the architect of our core technology. The foundation, everything we do is built on, should have been sitting here years ago. That's on us. On me. Room stayed quiet. We're here to make that right. Ray has full voting privileges, full access, full authority. Any questions? Nobody spoke. Good. Let's begin. Meeting lasted 2 hours. Budget reviews, product roadmaps, hiring strategies. Every time someone presented, they glanced at me, waiting for approval, for pushback. Mostly just listened, took notes, let them see I was there. Near the end, CTO presented the Cloud Edge recovery plan, how they'd restructure the licensing agreement with me, royalty percentages, timeline for formal transfer. When he finished, looked at me. Any concerns, Ray? One question. Room leaned in. Who's running the engineering team now? CTO blinked. Interim basis, it's Sarah Chen from infrastructure. Make it permanent. She's good. She knows the system. He nodded, wrote it down, noted. After the meeting, people filed out. Small talk, handshakes, promises to grab coffee. Hal hung back. Waited until we were alone. Ray turned to face him. Thank you, he said, for not burning it all down. You could have. Why didn't you? Thought about it. Because I didn't build this to destroy it, built it to last. That's the difference between me and Brandon. He wanted to win. I wanted to build something that mattered. Hal nodded slowly. Think you can forgive us? Eventually? Don't know yet. Ask me in a year. He smiled. Tired smile. Fair enough. He started to leave. Stopped at the door. Turned back. Ray. For what it's worth, I should have said this years ago. You were the best thing that happened to this company, and I let them forget it. That's something I have to live with. Didn't respond, just nodded. He left. Walked back to my office. Sat in that expensive chair, looked out at the city, big desk, big windows, everything I'd worked for. Felt empty. Not victory empty, just tired. Bone tired in a way sleep wouldn't fix. Looked at my reflection in the window glass. Gray hair, lines around my eyes deeper than I remembered. When did that happen? 58 years old, 2 heart attacks before 55. A son who'd heard his graduation announced over speakerphone while I was fixing someone else's code. An ex-wife who'd finally stopped waiting for me to come home. All for this. A nameplate on a desk, a board seat. Proof I mattered. Was it worth it? Sat with that question for a long time. Didn't have an easy answer. Maybe there wasn't one. The code I'd written would outlast all of us. The systems I'd built would keep running long after my name faded from the building directory. That had always been enough before. Wasn't sure it was enough anymore. But I'd earned the right to find out. That was something. Maybe the only thing that mattered. Phone buzzed, pulled me back. Text from my son. First one in months. Dad, heard the news. Proud of you. Coffee sometime. Stared at it for a long time. Read it 3 times. Tried to figure out what to say. How do you compress 28 years of absence into a text message? How do you explain that you missed his childhood for server maintenance and quarterly reviews? Couldn't. Not in a text. Typed back, yeah, I'd like that. Really would. Hit send before I could overthink it. Another buzz. Marcy. Saw you in the building. Welcome back. Didn't respond to that one. Not yet. Needed time to figure out what back even meant. Opened my laptop. Checked the USPTO one more time. Patent 81247-559. Owner, Raymond J. Donnelly. Status, active. There it was. Proof in federal record. Couldn't be erased. Couldn't be forgotten. Leaned back. Let it sink in. 28 years. 2 heart attacks. A marriage that didn't make it. A son I barely knew. All for a company that fired me without looking back. But here I was. Corner office. Board seat. My name on everything that mattered, not the ending I'd imagined, but the one I'd earned. And maybe, if I was lucky, a chance to figure out what came next. Buck was waiting when I got home that night, tail wagging. Didn't care about board seats or licensing agreements, just happy I was there. That simple loyalty. Wished I'd learned that lesson earlier. Poured a scotch, sat on the porch, watched the sunset. Phone stayed quiet. No emergencies. No fires to put out. For the first time in 28 years, someone else was on call. Felt strange, almost unsettling, but also something else, something that might eventually feel like peace. Thought about that coffee with my son, what I'd say, whether sorry was enough or if it even mattered anymore. Didn't have answers, but at least now I had time to look for them. Buck settled at my feet. City lights flickered on below. Scotch burned warm going down. This wasn't revenge. Wasn't justice either, really. It was something simpler. Something harder to name. It was proof that when you build something real, something that lasts, you don't need permission to matter. But maybe mattering wasn't the same as living. Maybe that was the real lesson. The one Brandon never learned. The one I'd paid 28 years to understand. You can win every battle and still lose what matters most. I'd won. Got everything I fought for. Now I had to figure out if there was anything left worth fighting for. Raised my glass to the city, to the 28 years, to the kid with the MBA who thought I'd disappear quietly. Thanks for the wake-up call, Brandon, I said to nobody. Game did change, just not the way either of us thought. Finished the scotch, set the glass down. Buck looked up at me with those patient eyes. Come on, boy. Let's go inside. Tomorrow I deal with licensing agreements and board politics and all the machinery that came with winning. Tonight, I'd sit with what I'd learned. Sometimes the best revenge isn't burning bridges or building empires. It's finally understanding what you gave up to get there, and deciding if there's still time to get some of it back.